Hi everybody, the following interview with Rick Conner of the Penspotters site took place on the final day of the 2008 Philadelphia Pen Show. Again, when I do a video at a pen show, the audio is not that great because of the ambient sound, but I hope you enjoy what you can hear. Thanks.
Okay, I'm here at the Philly Pen Show 2008 with Rick Conner, who is a longtime collector and a font of wisdom on fountain pens. In fact, when I started, I don't know if I mentioned this to you, Rick, but when I started his nibs more than a decade ago, before that I was a collector, and one of the very first websites that I found on fountain pens was yours.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Penopoly, all those years ago.
Yeah.
And I know you've updated that site. You now have Penspotters, and that's your main site, but it's just still chock full of information for beginners, medium and advanced users as well. And I know you have a lot of reviews.
Yeah, well, what I like to try to do is just whenever I find information, I just like to try to throw it out there for people to use. So I guess I figure information ought to be free and available to everyone as much as it's possible to do so. So that way also benefits me because I get to learn the information, so, as well as passing it on to other folks.
Well, it's a pretty extensive site, so it seems like you put in countless hours over the years.
But yeah, over the years, lately not so much. I have another web project which is going right now, but so I have been neglecting the Penspotters site quite a bit. But I figured it had reached a point where it kind of could stand on its own and be more like a traditional book than what I guess we think of like as blogs.
Right.
That kind of thing that has to be continually updated. So.
And what about your own history as a collector? How did you start? Where did your interest begin?
I guess the first thing that I ever knew about fountain pens was in high school. I had two teachers, one of whom had these awful leaky Osmeroid pens. You've seen those.
Right.
That he used India ink in, and he wrote italic. And so that kind of said, well, that's kind of cool. I want one of those. So I think I ended up with one of those that leaked like crazy. So I had another teacher who was very impressed with himself because he had a Parker 75 Sterling grid. And I remember him telling us all about how, it was adjustable to your hand. And I said, well, now this is really cool to have something like this that's adjustable to your hand. So they kind of inspired me, I guess, when I went into college. I started buying fountain pens. I'd buy myself one or two nice pens every semester, just as kind of a little back-to-school gift, I guess. And one of the first pens I spent real money on was a Schaefer Targa.
Oh, I have a number of those.
Which
Great pen.
Was the current model back then. So that's how long ago that was. So it kind of took off since then, but I never really, I figured that there must be a lot of old pens around there, but I never knew where they were or how you would go about finding them or anything like that until on the internet. I can't really pinpoint the time and place, but I found out that there are people out there who are actively collecting these old pens. And, so there was a small group of websites and mailing lists and so forth back then, and so it just took off from there.
And then eventually eBay.
And eventually eBay, yes, for better or worse.
So have you focused on any areas in your collection, or is it just an amalgam of various brands?
I'm still pretty, I guess the word is Catholic about that. The only pens that you can make me run across the room for to look at maybe would be English pens, and principally Conway Stewart's and Parker dual folds from the 50s and 60s. I seem to like those quite a bit right now, subject to change.
Well, I know that you've had an interest also in Asian pens. That's sort of how we made a connection with Hero initially, and Duke, and you've had a friend, Chinese friend, who has gifted you with some pens over the years.
Yeah, a very good friend of mine went over to China for a wedding trip, and I gave her a little bit of money and said, go buy as many pens as you can buy with this money, and just buy interesting looking things, don't be too particular. So she came back with, I don't know, must have been a trunk load of pens, I don't know, far more than the money I gave her would account for, even at the prices she claimed to have paid for them. So, but yes, so that introduced me kind of to, the Chinese are doing very, very high quality work on metal pens. I'm not sure their design is totally up to snuff against somebody like the Italians.
Right.
But the quality of their work is just top notch. So the rest of it will come in time.
So I know you through our mutual admiration for fountain pens. What do you do in real life?
I am, my degree's in mechanical engineering. I have a professional engineering license in Maryland. I work for a small private company called Airink, and I work on surface transportation projects, which would be mainly subway, light rail, that sort of thing. At the moment, that's what I'm doing.
So do you catch any grief at work for having a pocket full of fountain pens?
Yeah, actually, the funniest thing was that I'd lost a very expensive Omas pen in a colleague's car. I didn't know that's where I had lost it. I just figured that somebody stole it or it got lost, and I wasn't going to see it again. Weeks later, he comes up to me, and he's got this pen, and he says, is this yours? And I said, yes, it is. And he says, well, here, take it back. I don't want it in my car. If he'd known how much that I had paid for it and how much he probably could have flogged it for on eBay, he might have thought differently. But yeah, people vary in their reactions. Some people kind of shrink away in terror. They're afraid they're going to get leaked on. And other people are quite fascinated by it and want to talk about them, which is kind of fun too. So you can talk about a little about history, a little about technology.
Right.
It's a lot of fun.
Well, I want to direct my viewers to your website, Penspotters, and they'll see that scrolling along the bottom of the screen. And it's really a great site, informational site for people to get an introduction to fountain pens, and also for collectors to see a number of photographs and descriptions. And
plus, it's now so old, it's kind of like looking at a first edition.
That's right. That's right. It's been around for a long time. And it was always a valuable resource to me, and I still send customers there who have questions that I don't have the time to answer, and because you've done all the work. It's great.
Yeah.
Well, thanks very much, Rick. I really enjoyed spending a few minutes with you.
Thank you.